I've done a few videos now where I review every movie in a franchise and then rank them all at the end. But there's also a few franchises I don't want to make those kind of videos on because it would get repetitive fast. I'm talking about stuff like Halloween, Friday the 13th, and the topic of today's video, A Nightmare on Elm Street. I want to rank every film in the series directly without taking the long ass journey of reviewing every single one of these fuckers. Also, I should clarify this list is just entirely my opinion. The only criteria is just how much I like the movie. I'm not claiming this is an objective list at all, so without any further ado, here's all 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies ranked.
Why are you screaming? I haven't even caught you yet.
You could probably see this coming, but in last place I have the 2010 remake of the original Nightmare movie. This film sucks and adds absolutely nothing of value to the material. It's basically just the exact same movie with a few shitty plot changes, and that's about it. It's also edited like a fucking music video, it's so distracting. The whole reason this movie exists is so they could modernize an almost timeless horror movie. If that sounds ridiculous to you, it's because it is. The kills aren't even that fun, they're edited so poorly and just often come off as funny rather than scary. Jackie Earle Haley was a good casting choice for the iconic character, but he feels so wasted. This interpretation of Freddy has no personality at all, and I get they were trying to make him actually scary again after the last few movies made him kind of a joke. New Nightmare came out 16 years before this movie, and it somehow successfully made Freddy scary again, so why couldn't these fuckers have just done that? The material is right here. And like I said, the kills are just lame, man. Nothing but stabbings and bad recreations of iconic scenes. The only one I kinda like is the opening kill. That dude trying to stop Freddy from slitting his throat is genuinely fucking unsettling as hell. Just your average soulless remake. If I told you this was the director's only film, would you be surprised at all? No, because it's one of the most cut and dry examples of a bunch of studio execs ghost directing the shit out of a movie. And this guy's only here so they can have a director's name attached because they don't want to take all the flack for the movie sucking. 1 out of 10.
Yes. Super Freddy!
In 8th place I have Nightmare 5, The Dream Child. This is easily the worst of the original series for me. It's a confusing, unfunny, boring mess that isn't scary at all. The kills are fun, which has become commonplace for this franchise, but other than that, there's not a whole lot I enjoy about this film. The insane over-the-top directing of Dream Master is now completely gone in favor of bad editing and even worse jokes. This movie leans so much into the backstory that was established in Dream Warriors to the point where it's almost the main focus of the movie. And yeah, Freddy's backstory is definitely shocking the first time you hear it, but at this point, dude, I'm just fucking sick of it. I fucking get it, alright? You established this shit 2 movies ago. And don't even get me started on that stupid ass kid character. It's obviously not the little dude's fault that this character is complete garbage because he's a fucking kid. He can't act. And he's given horrible dialogue like this.
Let's go. I want to learn stuff from you. She's no fun anymore. Teach me.
The characters, if you can even call them that, are dog shit. I felt absolutely nothing watching them die. To give credit where credit is due, this movie occasionally has good visuals. The set design is mad impressive, and I've always loved when they lean into gothic horror to represent the dream world. It's good shit. Aside from that though, I don't have much good to say about this movie. You got something to add? Say it into the mic. What you gotta say? Aside from that though, I don't have much to say about this movie that's good anyway, and my mom always told me to say good things. Actually, I don't think she ever said that. I'm pretty sure that expression is just more popular than moms actually saying that. 2 out of 10.
Now I'm playing with power!
Freddy's Dead fucking sucks. I'm sure a lot of people would have had this film at dead last, or at least in 8th place, and that's something I can totally understand. In fact, I used to be in that same boat too. But upon rewatch for this video, I came to the realization that this movie is extremely bad, but it's at least a bad that I can laugh at. This is basically the Looney Tunes equivalent of Nightmare on Elm Street. It's hard to get bored watching this schlock. And it does have some genuinely funny jokes on its own. Some of the kills are also pretty fun, like that head explosion, and some are just plain fucking boring. Others are straight up obnoxious. Is this supposed to be like an acid trip, dude? Who the fuck has ever taken acid and thought they were in a video game? I thought people in Hollywood were experts on drugs. What the fuck is this? The actual plot of this movie is complete nonsense. Everything with the dream demons is stupid and they're presented so poorly, it's almost laughable. And the twist that Maggie is Freddy's child is so lazy and it comes completely out of left field. I also find it hilarious how he was barely hiding his shady shit from his wife, and when she inevitably finds out about it, he smashes her head against a wooden post in broad daylight. It's so dumb. Apparently the reason he kills kids is because he was mad that he got his taken away from him. But like, you already killed kids before that, dude. That's kind of the reason why they took her from you. Also, this is supposed to be Freddy's final death. For real this time. And this is how they do it.
Kids.
You're fucking joking, right? Right? What is it with horror franchises and completely botching their finales? This is your big multi-million-dollar horror villain. He gets killed in someone's kitchen. It's so ridiculous to me. Like, come on. You're telling me nobody on the crew stopped for a second and thought, hey, wait a minute, guys. Why the fuck are we doing this? 2 out of 10. Freddy vs. Jason isn't a good movie at all. Is it hilarious? Yes. Does it live up to the title? Not really. I don't know what it is about versus movies and saving what we all came to see until the very end of the movie, but like, dude, you have to sit through 2 hours of fucking political drama if you want to see Batman fight Superman. If you want to see Freddy fight Jason, you have to sit through a boring, ugly 2000 era slasher that contains some of the worst traits of their respective franchises. But yeah, this movie's bad, and that might make you wonder why it's in 6th place. Well, dear viewer, it's kind of worth it for the fights, I can't lie. Also, this movie is so dumb that it's honestly super fun to watch. Get some friends together and just shit all over this movie, you'll probably have a good time. The plot is fucking nonsense and it feels like it was written by someone who's never seen any of these films before. Since when has Jason been afraid of water? He lives in that shit. The kills are alright and a handful of them are pretty fun and creative, but then you get shit like this. When these two horror legends do go head to head though, it's so ridiculous and so fucking funny to watch. It straight up dips into Looney Tunes territory uncomfortably quick. That's not to say the rest of the movie isn't weird as fuck too. There's literally a scene where Freddy morphs into a toka smoking caterpillar on some Alice in the Wonderland shit. Also, Gary Busey's son Lachlan Monroe is here. Am I the only one who legitimately thought these two related for the longest time? But other than that, this movie's a fucking disaster. 3.5 out of 10.
Wanna suck the face?
Getting down to the final top 5, I have Nightmare 4: The Dream Master. This is not a great movie at all. Hell, it's not even that good of a movie either. To be completely honest with y'all, I think I'm just biased. This is always one of my favorites as a kid due to the insane kills and the crazy ass filmmaking. Rennie Harlan injected some much needed life into this pretty bland script. There's some things I obviously don't like about this movie, like the choice to kill off the remaining Dream Warders in the first 30 minutes of the film. This choice has always been super baffling to me ever since I was a kid. Why the fuck would you spend an entire movie developing these characters only to kill them off like they're meat puppets? It's so stupid, man, and I'll always hate it. The new cast of characters in turn are kinda forgettable. They're a group of your average stereotypes and I don't really feel that bummed out when they die. In fact, my favorite part of the movie was watching them die because this shit was way more boring than I once remembered. We barely even learn anything about these new characters other than extremely obvious nods to what they're afraid of. They're basically just cattle for Freddy to slaughter. Speaking of which, Freddy is actually a lot of fun to watch in this movie. He's pretty damn silly here, but this was before they decided to take it way too far. Rennie Harlan really wanted Freddy to be a jokey, cool guy in this movie, and it kinda works for me most of the time. Hell, even the way he comes back to life is campy as fuck. He wakes up because a dog pisses fire on his grave in the dream world. I couldn't make this shit up if I wanted to. I know I've been ragging on this movie pretty hard for the last few minutes, but that's because it's just so easy to. This movie got a lot of dumb shit, but at the end of the day, it's still one of my favorites to rewatch because it's just so damn fun. 4.5 out of 10.
You are all my children now.
Next up, we have Nightmare on Elm Street 2, a sequel that I'm pretty on the fence about. I used to hate this movie as a kid because it basically has nothing to do with the first film, but I've since come around to it a bit more because on its own, it's very fun to rewatch. You get brutal kills, you get Freddy at his creepiest, and you get Mark Patton being the ultimate male scream queen. What more could you want? It's also one of the gayest horror films to come out in the 80s, and it's so fucking great. On one hand, I think it's cool that a horror movie that was this popular had homosexual themes in a time where a lot of people people would frown on it, but on the other hand I heard it was a difficult shooting experience for Mark as he was still closeted at the time, and wasn't really aware of the homosexual themes when he agreed to do the movie. But ever since then he's come around on the film a bit more, so I feel a little better about enjoying this film as much as I do. Would I have preferred a more standard sequel that follows Nancy as she tries to overcome the trauma of the first film? Fuck yeah I would, but this definitely works too. This movie's plot is weird like most of the franchise, but it's a kind of weird that I really dig. Freddy spends the film trying to take over Jesse's body so he can use him for his own bidding. I think that's really interesting and definitely a fun idea when they could have just played it safe and did the exact same plot again but with a dude this time. Instead, this movie really tries to be something unique and I think it's better for it. Like I said earlier, Freddy is genuinely scary as fuck here. His eyes are this dark red color, his flesh looks more recently burnt and slimy, and he doesn't really make any jokes this time around, he's playing it completely serious. I really like this movie's Freddy a lot. If you couldn't tell, he's probably my favorite iteration of the character. I also love the idea that shit just gets scalding hot when Freddy's around, records start melting and birds catch on fire, it's sick. I feel fucking sweaty just watching this film. So yeah, I guess I kinda like this movie. 6 out of 10. In my top 3, we have Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. No, I did not say Dream Child again. I don't know what you're talking about. People might get upset at me for only giving this 3rd place. This is easily most people's favorite sequel. I've even seen people say it's their favorite in the entire series, which is something I can respect but personally don't agree with. I used to also love Nightmare 3 more than the rest of the sequels, and I'm not entirely sure why I don't anymore. Maybe it's just because I've seen it too many times or my taste has changed, but I'm not entirely sure. But regardless of how I feel, this movie's fucking great and easily one of my favorites in the franchise. The cast of characters are some of the most likable of the entire series. Sure, they're a little stereotypical too at first glance, but as the film goes on, I really get to know them and start to root for them. These are also the first set of characters to take the battle directly to Freddy rather than drinking lots of coffee and fighting sleep. As the film goes on, they learn that they can use dream logic to their advantage and make themselves mini superheroes basically, hence the name Dream Warriors. This results in some damn fun visuals and some great action scenes. Also, Freddy's a damn blast in this movie. This is when he was still kinda scary, and he also isn't afraid to get a little silly too. It creates this perfect middle ground between spooky scary Freddy and funny Freddy. The kills are also some of the best and most memorable in the entire franchise, from how creative they are to the fact that we just don't really want to see these characters bite it. This film also sees the return of Nancy Thompson, and I think that is really fucking great. Her presence was severely missed in Nightmare 2, and it's nice to see her return as a sort of mentor to these new characters. She knows what it's like to be ignored by the adults around her, and she wants to help them take down Freddy for good. It's really fucking cool, and it's a great evolution of her character. It just sucks that they kinda ruin it by killing her off at the end. Yes, I'm still mad about this creative choice all these years later. When people complain about legacy characters being killed for nothing but shock value, they should add this into their list. Yeah guys, let's have Nancy overcome her trauma and defeat it directly, only for it to be like, surprise bitch, and kill her last minute. Honestly, that's probably what keeps this movie as only my 3rd favorite. I just really can't get behind this choice. Other than that, I kind of love this movie. And I wouldn't blame anyone for liking it the most. It's a blast. 7 out of 10. This is really gonna get some people upset, but my 2nd favorite Nightmare movie is the original itself. I love this movie to death, and it's one of the first films that truly scared me as a child and got me into the genre. It's such a simple premise that goes a long way to creating one of the greatest and most iconic horror films to date. Wes Craven's genius is fully on display with this super well written and shot film. The dream sequences are shot in such a great way that it feels like an actual nightmare. Not only does it introduce one of the greatest horror antagonists of all time, but it also introduces one of the best final girls of all time. Nancy's uphill battle against Freddy Krueger as she descends into delirium is tough to watch because she's just so damn likable as a protagonist. Just about all her friends are likable. There's Tina, who's presented as the film's original protagonist for the first 30 minutes or so it's pretty jarring when she fucking bites it. There's Rod, who's a bit of a douchebag, but a likable one at that. And then, hey look, it's Johnny Depp. Also, not that many people die in Freddy's first outing, but the few kills we do get are extremely well done and iconic. This film rather tends to focus on actual suspense and fear rather than, well, whatever this was. Every scene with Freddy is extremely unnerving and memorable. Robert Englund immediately understood the vibe of the character and slips into it so naturally. He's genuinely still creepy to watch in this film, even though I've seen it a million fucking times over the years. He's even funny at times, but it's never over the top and cringy. About halfway through the movie when we sing the same Freddy's Real song and dance for the 15th time, I start to get a little bored. Then Freddy's on screen again and I'm immediately invested. I don't know what else to say besides this movie just fucking works, and if you somehow haven't seen it yet, you gotta change that. 8.5 out of 10.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
It's been tough, but over the years I've come to the conclusion that my personal favorite in the series is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This movie takes the established Nightmare formula and makes something wholly unique with it. I often hear people crediting Craven's next film, Scream, as one of the first horror movies to really get meta, but honestly I'd say it's this one too. I mean, come on, Freddy literally realizes he's a fictional character and decides, nah, fuck that, I'ma do my own thing. This movie also follows Heather Langenkamp herself instead of making her Nancy again. I think the idea of a former Scream queen being haunted by the horror movie villain that she once had to co-star with is fucking great. Not to mention Robert Englund and Wes Craven appear as their actual selves in this movie. Heather Langenkamp is obviously dope as hell, and it's a blast to see her go up against Freddy one last time. And not fucking die in the process. Yes, I'm still annoyed about that, alright? And her son Danny, while kinda annoying at first, is a pretty enjoyable little dude. This kid's doing a mediocre job, which is to be expected, but I still find myself really getting into this mother and son relationship. And as you already know, Robert Englund is doing a phenomenal job in this film. This is easily the most intimidating he's been since the second movie. He still cracks jokes, of course, but this Freddy feels a lot more focused on true fear again. And the dirty trench coat is a simple detail, but it adds so much to the look, and I really dig the new finger knives. It's gothic and demonic. I fucking love it. In fact, we get to see the return of gothic horror Freddy in this film, and I think it's at its absolute best here. The sets they made for this movie are so fucking impressive, man. Look at this. Look! Freddy's strictly business this time around and often defaults on his classic slashing and stabbing. But that's not to say that the kills aren't still memorable. We have this dope ass nod to Tina's death in the original, and honestly I think I like this one just a little more. And that opening kill where the knife glove goes rogue and starts fucking dudes up is so hilarious, it's hard to forget. I've been going on for a while now and I'm pretty sure you can already tell that I love this movie. It might not be most people's favorites, but it's definitely mine. 9 out of 10.